Hey everybody, Peter Zion coming at you from the Norfolk Airport. Now, it's Ryan McBeth. I can't do that Peter Zion voice for hours on end. Hey, I'm shooting a YouTube video. Is it okay if I sit here?
Sure,
is that really gonna?
I was trying
These two girls, they're gonna join me for the YouTube video. You guys are gonna learn so much about drones today. It's gonna be great. All right. I want to talk about this recent Army ATP and a video that showed a $15,000 drone flying and this danger that we're kind of treading into when it comes to how we use drones and what Ukraine is currently doing with drones. So first off, there was a lot of talk about this new Army ATP that showed tanks firing at a drone using their main guns. And the Chieftan had a very good video, and you'll be able to find that below when I publish this, where he basically said, this is nothing new. This has been in the manual for 25 years. The Army has known about UAVs for 25 years. Step one, when you encounter an unmanned aerial vehicle, is hide. And if you can't do that, then you might try to shoot it down. And it's really no different than being under regular air attack, conventional air attack by an aircraft. So that particular manual is essentially an update to an original strategy that was developed 25 years ago. When you think about it, the threat really hasn't changed all that much. It is the amount of threat, and it is the persistence of the threat, in the sense that instead of having a manned operator inside an aircraft, you have a drone operator inside a drone who can kind of hang out there for an hour, right? And they're very difficult to detect, very difficult to shoot down. So that's kind of number one. But number two, there was another video of a guy who, the Department of Defense introduced this $25,000 drone that could drop drone munitions, and people laughed and said, oh, the Department of Defense is out of touch. Ukraine can make these drones for $600 each. And yeah, they can. But that's not the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem that we're encountering is looking at Ukraine and believing that the next war is going to look like the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. And I can tell you this, the only reason we're seeing lots and lots of drones being used in Ukraine is that the United States and NATO just did not give Ukraine enough artillery ammunition. We didn't. And some of that was because we didn't have a lot of Ukraine or a lot of artillery ammunition to give to Ukraine. Now, so what did Ukraine do? Well, they started building these drones. They put explosives on the drones, and they started blowing up Russians in onesies and twosies. That's not how you win a war. You win a war by killing by the bushel, right? You need to destroy as many of the adversary as possible. And if you're blowing people up in onesies and twosies, that might help you hold the line, but it's not going to help you advance. Now, the difference between the way the United States would fight against a country like Russia, especially with our current doctrine of joint all-domain operations, is that not only are we coming at you from every area at once, we're also using air power extensively. We're taking out your logistics and supplies. You might have drones at the front line. Cool. That's very useful. But we're interdicting your supplies 50 kilometers away with aircraft. We gain total air superiority. And you can launch those drones, but you're going to be launching those drones hungry, right? And you're not going to be able to get the fuel to charge the generator, to charge the battery on the drones. So maybe you got 36 hours before you start looking for food. That becomes your main focus, right? Looking for food as a soldier. So one of my fears is that the U.S. is concentrating on these small, cheap drones and these small, cheap drone drop munitions at the expense of joint all-domain operations. Drones can be a feature of joint all-domain operations, but they certainly might not be the centerpiece like we're seeing in Ukraine and Russia. And the reason we're seeing them as a centerpiece is that neither Russia nor Ukraine can gain actual air superiority over Ukraine. Third thing I wanted to talk about was a video that Peter Zion made recently where he kind of compared drones to the Mongols, and how, like, if you have drones, you can be like the Mongol horde and hit wherever you want. And one of my big fears is that we might also be falling into the drone trap the same way as some people fell into the hypersonic trap. Hypersonic missiles are very useful. Absolutely. Hey, what's up? I want a beer. Hypersonic missiles are very, very useful. Hey, can I have a Bud Light? Thank you. They're very useful, but at the end of the day, you're still getting a 1,000-pound warhead and slamming it into a ship, right? And you could have done that far cheaper with a conventional warhead. Would have taken longer to get there. It might have been easier to shoot down, but with a hypersonic missile, you're still taking a 1,000-pound warhead and crashing it into a ship. And you might need multiple warheads to do this. So let's say a hypersonic missile costs $35 million. Could you build 35 conventional cruise missiles for the cost of one hypersonic, right? So, that's always been the cost equation, right? Do you want a better item or do you want a cheaper item? You get more of it. One of the reasons I haven't been concerned about hypersonics is that what are we going to shoot them at, right? If you have 11 aircraft carriers like the United States has, those become a really good target for hypersonic weapons. Fantastic target. But if you're like China and you only have 3 aircraft carriers and they're not particularly good, are you going to waste a $35 million hypersonic missile on that carrier? Sooner or later you kind of run out of targets, and you built all these missiles that essentially have no targets to go after, right? So I think when it comes to drones, Peter Zion, his heart is in the right place when it comes to the idea that, one day wars aren't going to be fought with people, they're all going to be fought with drones. The drones are going to be flying around and doing their own thing, and they're going to be like the Mongol horde, just hitting cities and so on. And I don't necessarily see that. Because drones eventually have to recharge, they have to be built by people, and you can do that, but we're going to be bombing the crap out of your factories and your logistics and your supply lines using joint all-domain operations. So I think the whole focus on drone warfare being similar to the kind of drone warfare that we're seeing in Ukraine, I think that is a very dangerous trap. Yeah, they weren't interested in drone warfare. Story of my life. Thank you for watching.
Wow, this girl from Watertown sure is cool. Hey kid, what's going on? Think tank! A girl from Watertown is kind of like riding a moped. It's lots of fun till your friends see you on one. What's really cool is a t-shirt or hoodie from Bunker Branding. Wow! Intel Life! Control-C, Control-V! That's exactly what we do! And Bunker Branding has all sorts of cool gear. Intel Life, Aerosol, Live, Laugh, Launch for Destroyer, Trident, HIMARS, and Patriot. Think outside the bomb. Drone Suite Drone, Department of the Boat People, landmines, and even the tow missile. It would behoove you to grab one today. Girls from Watertown aren't cool, so wear your Bunker Branding gear. Now I know. And knowing's half the battle. Hey babe, you wanna dance? Bunker Branding.